Hi, everyone. My name is Adam Robinson. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Hireology. It's great to be with you here today. Thank you all for joining us, and welcome to the first webinar in our new Quick Hit series. Our goal with this series is to touch on timely workforce and workplace topics in digestible 15-minute segments. Today, we're going to dig into some of the pandemic induced trends that we've seen in the hiring space, and I think we'll stick around and what these trends mean for you as an employer and a hiring manager. So let's get started. First, I want to touch on the current unemployment rate. Since February of last year, there has been about a 20-point swing in the unemployment rate from early 2020, which were Great Depression levels of unemployment, to now where we're approaching pre-pandemic levels again as folks get vaccinated and as we've found ways to safely interact in person again. Of course, this is fantastic news. It's a huge relief after everything we've been through as a country and probably you individually, certainly us at Hireology have been through as employers. But what does this mean for us as employers going forward? What it means is that the applicant economy we experienced prior to the crisis of 2020 is returning. Hiring demand is increasing as the economy recovers, as people start to spend more, and as businesses staff up as a result. And at the same time, decreasing unemployment causes the pool of quality applicants to shrink. The other thing I know most of us on the call are dealing with is the federal enhanced unemployment benefit that is essentially paying people in most states the equivalent of $22 an hour to stay at home. And so there is a strong incentive not to work now, right? You're making more to do nothing in many cases. And so the result is that top candidates who want to work have options, that anyone that can and wants to work can find a job, and the days of cutthroat talent competition are back, I think with a vengeance, and probably for the next 12 to 18 months at a minimum. But Hireology, we're seeing this play out in a significant increase in the number of jobs that our customers open on the platform. In March, our customers, over 7,000 strong, opened 50% more jobs than they did in the month of February. So in March, just on our platform, if you look at that as a proxy for US unemployment, and given the scale of our customer base, I think you can do that. Our customers had 50% more job inventory than they did 1 month ago. And as this number rises each month, it's only going to continue to get more competitive. This means you have to work really hard and move with urgency in order to attract today's top applicants. But even though the economy is starting to resemble pre-pandemic times, this doesn't mean we can just go back to doing everything the same way you did before March of 2020. Because if we've got 50% more demand and the applicant pool stays flat, what many of you are experiencing is you're getting a lot less applicants per job. That's not because there's something wrong with the platform or there's something wrong with you or your opportunity. It means that the equation has changed. You've got 50% more jobs being divided into the same number of applicants. You're just going to get a lower number necessarily. So why have things changed? Well, because things are different this time around. The pandemic just has completely transformed the way we work and what people expect from their employers. It's all evolved. And so I predict that many of the changes we've seen in the past year will stick around, even as we return to normalcy. So as an employer, we have to adjust to today's new normal in order to get ahead of the best applicants and outpace competitors who are slower to respond or still think that the way we did it in 2019 is the way we're going to do it in 2021. It's just not. So what are some of those changes that I think are here to stay? Well, there are 4 I want to run through today. And for each trend, I'll discuss some actionable steps you can take to adjust your hiring strategy and processes in order to get in front of top talent and stay competitive. The first is that every hire matters. This applies to employers across many different industries. So no matter where you are from a product or service perspective, this is a big one. Due to COVID restrictions, many of you had to close up shop or restrict access or hours or capacity. You probably lost customers and revenue. You had to lay off and or reduce staff hours. This meant you had to be really resourceful with the people you did retain. You focused only on your best performers and you pushed them to do more outside of their traditional role. This is how we all survived. And you found that when you do have the right people in the seat, it is possible to operate more efficiently. So, anecdote after anecdote of business owners or managers I've talked to that said, well, last year was tough, but we got a lot more efficient. That's what happens when you have to play defense like this for 12 months. You just get more efficient. I talk a lot about this in the retail automotive space, but I do think that this trend is here to stay across most industries. I predict that because we've learned to work more efficiently and be more resourceful with the folks that we do have on staff, businesses will be able to continue operating with 5 to 10% less headcount for the same amount of productivity, even after the economy returns to pre-pandemic levels. I think businesses are able to do it because they have been doing it. And I think business owners want to continue to have the enhanced margins, but I also think it's going to be harder to find people. So we're not going to get back to full staffing, even if we wanted to. I think it's just, there's a lid on how many people we're going to be able to hire. Those of you who do have on staff, those you do have on staff will need to be at the top of their game, undoubtedly. And the key to achieving that is hiring the right people. So every hire matters. Whom you decide to put on your payroll is really the only thing you've got 100% control over as a business owner. Everything else is reactionary. Whom you decide to put on the payroll really matters. And in an environment where it's really tough to find people, you could be tempted to hire any warm body that can fog a mirror. And I would implore you to not go that route. It will cost you in the long run. But as unemployment rate continues to decline, it becomes harder and harder to attract top applicants. People who want to work can work wherever they want, pretty much. And quality applicants have lots of options. So you have to find ways to get in front of them when it matters and where it matters. Now, there are 2 areas of focus that can help you attract the best of the best. Number 1 is job descriptions, and number 2 is applicant sourcing. So let's dig in. Job descriptions. Make sure you're not just reusing pre-pandemic job descriptions. Write them in a way that attracts the right people for this new way of working more efficiently, right? Job descriptions are marketing documents. You are retailing a product online. This is not just a list of stuff. This is marketing. And so we have to, yes, clearly define roles and responsibilities and spell out the requirements and do all of those things. That's all important, but I think it's also worth mentioning the importance of search engine optimization. Most candidates, 70%, are looking for jobs that begin on Google search. So make sure that your job descriptions are architected to show up on Google. Use short titles and keep job descriptions between 300 and 800 total words. More than that, Google dings your rank accordingly. Second, diversify your applicant sourcing. This helps you get in front of the best candidates where they are. So while job boards are likely to remain a top source of candidates by volume, it is important to expand into other sources that are proven to connect you with more quality candidates, such as Facebook for Jobs or LinkedIn, and of course, your own career site marketing and employee referral programs. Those are all critical things, right? So in a world where everybody's going to the same really big job site and bidding up the same keywords for the same applicant pool, you're not getting more applicants, you're just getting more cost. And so there has to be a better way. That better way is everything besides doing more of that. All you're doing is spending more money to get the same or a less result, and that is not a recipe for growth. The second big change we saw during the pandemic is that much of the hiring process now happens on mobile. Because you're working remotely and you're being asked to do more than you had to do before the pandemic, you're working away from your desk almost completely now on a mobile device more than you ever did before. This mobile first way of working won't go away even after life returns to normal. Why is that? Well, because it allows you to respond and move candidates through the hiring process so much faster. You don't need to be at your desk in order to quickly reply to an applicant or schedule an interview. You can do it from wherever, whenever. So particularly if you're in the retail or service industry, in the healthcare industry, or you're just not at a desk all day. You're out and about, you're in the field, you're on the shop floor, you're in the store, you're doing what you need to do in your facility. It's nice to have applicant review on a mobile device whenever you have 5-10 minutes to do that. It's just critical that you don't tie yourself to a desk. And so this ability to speed up the process is really important, particularly as the supply and demand imbalance gets exacerbated. Our data shows that 60% of all new hires today receive their offer within 2 weeks of submitting their application. So after 2 weeks, they're gone. This is even faster than before the pandemic. So are you able to get applicants through all of your process and interviews in 2 weeks or less? If not, you are behind. You are at a severe, perhaps crippling disadvantage. The same way you monitor your customer closing processes and speed of transaction when you're on the revenue side of your business, you need to similarly do this on the hiring side of your business. Recruiting is a sales and marketing function. And if you don't manage it with speed, velocity, and process adherence, you're really missing an opportunity to get ahead of competitors. So if your team is not set up to complete the most critical steps of the hiring process on mobile, you need to start considering how you can make that happen. These are the most important steps of the hiring process that need to happen quickly, and you and your team should be able to do on the go. Number one, connecting with new applicants. 2, moving them through to the candidate stage, right? So you've applied, I'm reaching out to you. 2nd, I need to start that process. 3rd, I need to follow them through that process. And 4th, I need to make that hire and move on to onboarding. All of these things should be happening wherever you are, not when you happen to be sitting at your desk. During the pandemic, we also learned just how important a great candidate experience is. For the first time in my career, we had to interact with candidates throughout the entire hiring process completely virtually. So eliminating face-to-face touch points meant that you had to find other ways to stand out from competitors and hire the best candidates. Many of us found that you could do that by providing candidates with a great hiring experience online, and it paid off. In fact, according to our research, 65% of candidates who accepted an offer in 2020 said that the hiring process played a major role in their decision. This number was even twice as much as pay was in terms of consideration for taking a role. Now think about that. Candidates were more likely to choose an employer that offered a great hiring experience over one that offered more money. It's a lot less expensive to offer great experience than it is to just pay people more. This desire for a great hiring experience is not going away anytime soon. As we can interact in person, again, in some cases, it's just not going to make a difference, right? Great experience is what's going to be the driver. More and more people are looking for an employer that they feel values who they are and what they bring to the table. And their experience during the hiring process is a really good leading indicator of what their experience working for you is going to be. So the candidate experience is really critical as a component for you to continue to focus on as it becomes harder and harder to find that top talent. So what can you do to enhance the candidate experience? So number one, timely initial response. If you don't show interest right away, the candidate will lose interest in you too, and they'll move on to competitors. 2, an efficient process. This shows the candidate that you value their time. And for candidates, this is a really good indicator of what it's going to be like to work for you. 3rd, frequent communication. Candidates should never have to guess where they are in the process or feel like you've forgotten about them. Constant engagement keeps them interested and excited to potentially work for you. And then 4th, effective interviews. Ask the right questions to get the information you need, but also good interviews. Show the candidate that you're prepared, and again, that you value the time they've taken to apply and move through the process. All 4 of these things are really critical to delivering a great hiring experience. The pandemic also forced you to learn how to effectively onboard employees remotely. And so while the rest of the hiring process is something that I think will return to in person in some capacity, I do think most organizations will continue to complete onboarding administration remotely. Why? Because an employee's first week is really critical to retention, and it shouldn't be spent doing paperwork. That first week is the time that you set aside for them to learn about the company, the values, to form relationships with the team, and complete the training necessary for them to do their jobs well, or at least start it. This is not a time for filling out tax forms, for enrolling in benefits, and for doing the block and tackle compliance basics. With the right tools and technology in place, onboarding administration is something that can be done before the employee even comes into the office for day one. So why return to doing this in person with paper once we get back into the office, when what we've learned is that doing it remotely works just as well, if not better. So when onboarding is done right, it pays off. Research shows that nearly 70% of employees who undergo effective onboarding are likely to stay for at least 3 years. 3-year retention is something I think we can all agree is a pretty good target to try to hit. I think this trend is actually going to bleed into other areas of the hiring process as well. So for example, in industries that require certifications or other licensing or credentialing, why not collect and manage these documents digitally too? And why not do it earlier in the process so you can weed out candidates who don't meet the requirements right away? The digitizing the administrative aspects of document collection makes for such a better experience for your candidates, and it cuts down on a lot of work for you and your team. So that way you can get back to doing what you do best, which is attracting and connecting with top talent, and spend less time jumping through hoops in paperwork. So those are the 4 biggest changes we experienced during the pandemic that I truly believe will stick around. But even after we return to normal, you're going to keep doing more with less. So every hire matters. You're going to continue using mobile to recruit and hire, and you're going to provide top-notch candidate experiences, and you're going to complete administrative onboarding tasks virtually. These are trends that are here forever. At Hireology, we've anticipated these changes for a while, and that's why we've made a lot of really great enhancements to our core product functionality in the last year to help you get set up for the new post-pandemic norm. So here's some of our latest and greatest. Quickly, jobs on Facebook. So start finding local applicants for your open roles from the largest social media network and let them apply without leaving their Facebook app. That is why we are a premier partner with Facebook and one of the first ATSs to have this full integrations. This is something you want to dig into as you diversify applicant sources. Second, document collection. For roles that require immunization records, certifications, or other special requirements, have a system that helps you collect this digitally and automatically to speed your hiring process along. We certainly help you do that. Third, offer letters. You manage the full offer letter process, including e-signature, from your core hiring platform to turn your final round candidates into new hires even faster, on the roster quicker, billing hours faster, serving customers faster. And our mobile app. So we know the definition of work has completely transformed over the past year, and you may not have a lot of time at your desk to focus solely on tracking applicants and candidates. Our mobile app is built for you to help you take your hiring process anywhere and advance applicants and candidates, whether you're in the office, helping customers, working remotely, caring for sick children who are home from school for the day, or somewhere in between. So to summarize, we're fast approaching what we at Hireology like to call the new applicant economy, which means that the world is starting to get back to normal, if there is such a thing, and we're reaching pre-pandemic levels of unemployment. Much like in early 2020, demand for top talent outweighs supply, and I think we're there for a long time. But as the applicant economy is slightly different this time around, the pandemic has fundamentally changed many aspects of the business world, including how we attract and hire top talent. And many of these changes are here to stay. Again, the 4 big changes that we went over today. Every hire matters, right? Personal attention really matters. Second, mobile recruiting is critical. Third, the applicant experience is the center of the process and crucial. And fourth, remote onboarding is here to stay and helps you drive retention. So in order to stand out in this new applicant economy, you have to embrace these changes and adjust your strategy and processes in response. Adjustments like diversifying your applicant sourcing, going mobile, revamping your hiring process, and embracing remote onboarding can really help you gain that competitive edge and bring top talent on board as the economy opens back up. Every little thing you do to get ahead of your competitors counts. So now is the time to make small adjustments to your strategies that can and will have a really big impact down the line. So if any of the trends and advice I walked through today resonated with you, or you'd like to learn more about how Hireology can help you win in the new applicant economy, please reach out to us at info@hireology.com. We'd love to hear from you and continue this discussion. Thanks again for joining us today. It was a pleasure sharing this information and insight with you, and we look forward to seeing you in the remainder of our Quick Hit webinar series. Thanks very much, and have a great day.